Well, this is a surprise. Logitech has released a new gaming mouse, the G Pro X SUPERLIGHT 2 DeX. That's a real name made by marketing people. Just looking at this, I am not sure what to think. The best word to describe Logitech recently is complacent. Since the SUPERLIGHT's release in 2020, they have released 4 mice. 3 of these are remakes. It's just like the movies.
Endless trash!
Now the DeX is here. It's a new shape, and in Logitech's own words,
asymmetrical right-handed design we've been developing over the past several years.
Now I want Logitech to make great products like they used to, but their recent releases have been underwhelming.
Now this will become more important later, but I've had 2 faulty SUPERLIGHT 2s, and there's some rather glaring downsides with the SUPERLIGHT 2 that a lot of people would feel that need to be addressed.
Surely Logitech would have improved the quality of their new products instead of just focusing on minor performance improvements that have no real benefit to the user, right? So let's see what they've been working on for several years. What I can tell you now is that they have focused on said performance improvements because the numbers associated with this mouse have gone up. And we are talking about some big numbers here, like 88, 888, 8,000, and get this,
Tactical nuke incoming!
44,000.
But what do these numbers mean for you, the gamer? Nothing. But much like everything else in this capitalist dystopian nightmare, if the number goes up, that's good. And maybe Logitech are hoping that these big numbers will distract you from some of the major flaws that this mouse has.
To give them credit though, I've seen some tests people have done themselves and the performance is some of the best, beating the competition by around 0.2 milliseconds. Game changing that. However, there's going to be things that you will actually notice. Some of these might ruin the mouse for you. I'll get to the shape next, but there's another controversial section first, the switches. These are the same light force optical hybrid switches used in most of the newer Logitech mice. These are made in collaboration with Omron. They have an optical component and a mechanical component, so it combines optical speed and reliability but that mechanical feel. These feel very tight and there's a lot of spring to them. Also, they can be a bit loud. My opinion of these has changed. I previously said that I hated them, but now I've learned to appreciate them a little bit more. These have probably the most consistent feel to them out of all of the optical switches that I've tried, but in my personal opinion, I think that these are still just incredibly tight. It feels like whenever I release the mouse switch, the whole button is going to pop off and ping like an around. But now it's time to look at the shape of this thing. This isn't a G703 SUPERLIGHT. Exactly, but it's G703-ish. You might wonder why they didn't just take the G703 and just make it lighter. It might be because they're idiots, or it might be a part of my big brain theory that I had about the G305. If you haven't seen that video, basically I don't think Logitech has the exclusivity to make mice with those shapes anymore, so they're making new ones. The G309 video has more details, go watch that if you're interested. There's a few G703 clones on the horizon which does support my theory. Just because it's not an exact G703 replica doesn't mean it's bad. My initial thoughts when I saw it was, oh great, another slightly tweaked EC2. But this is a bit different and it's more G703-like than you think. To me, it feels like a G703 on the left side of the mouse, but there's a lot of areas that don't get snug against your hand anymore. The back hump height being reduced is a big factor here. It doesn't push into your palm as much. The right side of the mouse has also been tucked in a bit. This change I'm not a fan of, as you have to squeeze the mouse a bit more to have the mouse feel secure against your hand. There's also no thick and juicy side buttons anymore. They've been shrunk, and that's a real travesty.
For these next 2 sections I apologise for, because they really piss me off.
First are the mouse feet. They are still using these absolute
Greetings!
piece of garbage mouse feet. These have been a plague on the SUPERLIGHT, they really have. These are just the thinnest, most pathetic mouse feet I've seen in a gaming mouse. These create so much friction it's unreal, and it means that they just feel incredibly muddy to move around a mouse pad, and they also feel incredibly scratchy. If you don't use a soft pad, so anything that's glass or a surface like the Strike Pad or the Fanatic Jet, you'll feel and hear that scratchiness. Just listen to these. If you try any aftermarket skates instead, you will notice the difference. There is no excuse to include these. I know you can't make everyone happy with stock mouse feet, but you can at least try. And secondly, it's this
Don't shoot! I'm with the science team!
scroll wheel again. I'm getting so annoyed because this is the third Superlight product that I own that has the exact same scroll wheel problem. What is going on with this
Greetings!
company? If you have a Superlight 2, you can try this as well and see if I'm crazy or not. When I press the scroll wheel button down, it activates the mouse 3 switch and registers the input. If I slightly reduce the pressure without fully releasing the switch, the input stops as if I had released the switch, and it does it on all 3 of these mice. Now this is a big deal for me. I use the mouse 3 switch to move my camera in Dota 2, I use it for the ping wheel function in Deadlock, and when I press down and I lift my mouse whilst I'm playing, the pressure is going to be released a bit, so it stops the input.
And now it's time for my opinion. This mouse costs around $160. In this past year alone, since the Superlight 2 was released, the choices that people have now are incredible. It's now harder than ever to justify a high price with a gaming mouse. If you put your mouse into that price bracket, you really have to be able to justify it, because you can get perfect gaming mice for around the $100 mark. But this mouse is not a perfect mouse. It's mediocre at best.
As an example, the Razer Viper V3 Pro. What did Razer do here? They improved over a previous version. They listened to feedback and made changes. They improved the shape, mouse feet and coating. And they have a DPI button, preferred by Zekken. To me, that's a mouse that costs a lot, and Razer has tried to give you value for that amount. The Superlight 2 Dex is just an ERGO version of the Superlight 2, and that's not good enough. There's been no additional tangible improvements made to the product. I know they've improved the performance, but nobody is going to notice that. What I do notice though is the fact that it still has the same terrible scroll wheel and mouse feet, and it shows just how lazy and complacent Logitech has become as a company. They said that they spent several years on this. On what? All the internals are the same as the Superlight 2. What have they done? And it's incredibly frustrating because I like this shape. No, it's not a G703, but there are some similarities which, to me, results in this mouse being actually a good alternative. And I really want this mouse to be good. You have no idea how much I want a real ergonomic mouse. To feel the plastic against every part of my hand, to peel the mouse from my skin after grinding for 2 weeks non-stop, to clean off the blood, sweat and tears that build up on it as I hold the mouse like I'm holding onto it for dear life. Instead I get this overpriced piece of garbage that I have to buy aftermarket mouse feet for, and fix the scroll wheel click myself because Logitech are incompetent. Maybe the mouse subscription model might come with free hardware upgrades. If this mouse cost maybe like $120, I'd say buy it. At full price, don't bother.
On screen now is a review of a mouse that actually does provide a lot more value for your money.